Hello, everybody, and welcome to our YouTube channel. It's amazing to have you all here. My name is Amara.
And my name is Gospel.
And today we're going to be having an amazing conversation. And I am sure this is something that a lot of people in our community have actually reached out to us and they have requested that we put out this conversation. And it's around a family migration, benefits and challenges. And it's basically conversation today would be about how we can navigate the challenges of migration as a couple and as a family.
Yeah, I think in Nigerian context, that's what they call Japa. If you understand that, is about people moving abroad for whatever reason. I don't want to assume that it's for greener pastures. And today we want to look at it from the context of what are the challenges and what are the benefits? Because if someone is traveling out with a family, you want to migrate, obviously there is something you're looking for. And if you're not very sure, and if you don't hear from people who have gone through this process, you might actually make some mistakes. So the idea is to give you a roadmap or give you a heads up of what could happen if you come into a new environment, and how you can,
navigate,
maximize the opportunities if there are opportunities around that. Yeah.
Yes. So it is important that we talk about this. A lot of times we consider ourselves, ourselves and people within the community as economic migrants, they call us, right? So, and sometimes we come here for greener pastures and some other people have got the other agenda, but I feel that a majority of people that tend to migrate is from an economic standpoint. And today
Are you sure?
Well, mostly, I'd say, mostly. But whatever, pathway we take, it's basically for greener pastures, right? Because that's the end goal, isn't it?
I don't know. We would hear from the experts or we would hear from people who have lived abroad for some time.
Yes.
Let them share from their experience. Maybe that would help give us a kind of perspective.
Yes, absolutely. So today we have two amazing couples, and hopefully we would have time to go through and to hear from their wealth of experience, because I know that they will be sharing quite a lot of gems. Now, the couples that we brought here are not just people who have just jackpot, like you said, or people who have just come abroad, right? These are people who have been in the system, and they've been able to navigate different systems to get to where they are. They've actually swam 7 rivers and 7 oceans and how many other things?
I don't know.
Right. Anyways.
Many forests.
Yes. So they had to go through the jungle. They had to go through different, just to get to where they are. Not literally, but I'm sure you understand what I mean. But we will be bringing them today because they have been through the system and they understand. So what we've done is that we brought people from varied background just to share what it feels like and how you can navigate, not successfully within that space.
Okay. So I think we don't need to waste
further time,
or we don't need to take more of your time. All we will say is if you are on this platform, you can share the content with people who would benefit from this. I'm sure it's going to be quite interesting. Okay?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So today I've got the first couple that I would want to highlight, and that is Victor and Chidi Akuna.
Dr. Victor.
How can I forget that? Like, it took him a while to get to that point.
Dr. Victor.
Dr. Victor and Chidi Akuna. You're welcome.
Yay, thank you for having us. Thank you. We're so pleased to be here. Looking forward to having an interesting conversation.
Absolutely.
Amazing. I know you are not new on our platform, but some people might be watching you for the first time and they might be wondering, who are these couple, these amazing couple? Can our audience get to meet you, please?
Okay. You just introduced him as a doctor. He's Victor, my dear husband, and I'm Chidi Akuna. We run an organization called Foundation for Family Affairs with a mission to connect hearts and raise healthy families. And that's why we're excited about this topic, family migration. It's just important that it's done right, so the family is still intact. We wear many hats. One of the hats we wear is he is a lecturer and I'm a solicitor. It is a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Amazing. Sorry, Victor, you said something?
No, I said thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I should say thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much. And like you've heard, Victor is a lecturer at a UK university, and Chidi is a solicitor in the UK as well. And please, guys, get your questions ready, because I know that there's quite a lot you can benefit from this, especially with a changing legal environment. And this is not just something that is in the UK alone. I think generally around the world, there's been a lot of movement, there's been a lot of fluidity and dynamism in terms of the legal landscape. Policies are constantly changing, and this is down to so many other factors, but we can be prepared. So we can have plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, and many other plans. And they will be telling us all of this today. Thank you, Victor and Chidi. Now, the second couple that we would want to bring on board is Nonso and Chimdi. Nonso and Chimdi. Yes, so we want to make you a very well welcome and to our show. And please, can our audience get to meet you, please?
Sure. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thanks for having us. We are so excited to be here and be part of this conversation today, and also share part of our experiences. My name is Nomso, and my wife's name is Chimdi. By God's grace, we are the resident pastors out here of Streams of Joy, and we've also had the opportunity to migrate all over the world. Twice all over the world.
So when you say all over, could you give us an insight?
No, not all over. We've had opportunity to live in the US, Dallas precisely. We've also lived in Perth in Australia. For those of you who know where Australia is, Perth and in Australia is pretty nice, and Perth is one of the best cities in Australia. And right now we reside out here in Calgary, in Canada. I am an accountant. My wife is an accountant, but I'm a practicing accountant. While she's not a practicing accountant, she decided to, deviate a little bit to go into healthcare industry. So at the moment, she's a disability support worker, while I myself am an accountant with Canadian Pacific Railway. Prior to that, I had been with Deloitte for 12 years across 4 different countries. So it's a pleasure to be here to share our experiences and also, let people to benefit from what we've been through and also navigate around immigration.
Wow. I think that there's so much we can gain from you, because when you say you've been an accountant with Deloitte for different countries, and it means you know a lot, you've gone through a lot from a positive standpoint. When we say gone through a lot, maybe when we go into the conversation proper, you would have opportunity to share more with us. So thank you so much for being on the platform. Do we start? Yes, away? So let me even ask you, why exactly did you leave your country, Nigeria, to move abroad?
Okay. I think the first time that I left, I was looking forward to it. I knew it was going to happen because in my office, we had something where people have opportunity to move to other countries, get experience and come back to Nigeria. So I had an opportunity to go for that. I was prepping myself for that, working hard towards it. And when I got into the country, one of the things that I thought about for myself was career-wise, where do I want to see myself? In the Nigerian economy is so small. Thinking about what I want to do, the Nigerian economy is so small. And career-wise, it made sense. The US market is so big. The US is the biggest market in the world, right? So for me, it made sense to stay in the US and get that experience and also be in a bigger market for me. And then I considered also my children, economic factors, as we talked about earlier. My children, I wanted to also give them the opportunity to have a better life. Out here in the Western countries, you have better healthcare, you have better education. So I just wanted something better for the kids and be able to raise my family in that kind of environments where you don't have to be concerned about security issues. And because right before even I immigrated, I was robbed at gunpoint on Echo Bridge. For those of you who know where Echo Bridge is. So part of that was like, I just have to leave this environment, and you don't want to expose your children to those kind of risks and security issues. I don't know if my wife has anything to add to that.
Well, I didn't want to leave. I didn't see any reason why I should leave Nigeria. I loved Nigeria. Like I wasn't okay. I was indifferent about leaving. I was very indifferent. Like, oh, if it works, okay. If it doesn't work, okay. Like I was just there at that point where I don't really care. But until I moved, and I discovered that it was really necessary. You know how you feel like Nigeria is so good. I can't live without Nigeria.
Because you haven't tested the other
yeah,
parts.
because you haven't tasted the other part. Even though I still have some things I like about Nigeria, like a whole lot of things I would, if I could just move the way things are here back to Nigeria, you know, I'll rather live in Nigeria. But with the way Nigeria is currently, you know, I sincerely didn't want to move. He knows I didn't just. So when he kept saying, let's pray about it, I'm like, if it's God's will, we'll go. If it's not God's will, we'll stay. And, you know, so I didn't have any reason for moving. Like I wasn't so excited about it, but thank God we did move, you know.
Okay. I will ask you more questions on that. I hope I'll come back to that. I think we need to bring Victor, because let's make it a three-way thing so that everyone would have opportunity to chip in. Vic, I don't know if you heard what they were saying around why they moved to where they are at the moment. Do you guys want to share with us? First of all, why are you in the UK? Why did you move to the UK?
Okay, I think I moved first. I had studied sociology for 4 years, and I really wanted to study law. I knew that was just something for me. So it did make sense to me to do to study law for a longer time. So it was just practical that doing it in the UK would save me time, having studied for 4 years. And that was what prompted me coming here. Of course, better education as well, quality of education. But that was just it. I didn't want to waste more time. Yes. And then I think along the way you came.
So along the way I came, for me, originally, my intention was that we are not going anywhere. I'm going to stay here and develop the green color, apply the green color. But I had an experience while I was on campus, which I forgot. And that experience, you know, that was a word that God gave me at that point. And they said that I'm going to take it to the uttermost part of the earth. So, but that was something that happened while I was on campus. I kind of pushed that at the back burner until the conversation, until we get to meet each other while we were serving during the NYC. And then we started discussing about our future. And then it came to the point that we had to decide where are we going to live. You know, when you build that relationship to that point where you now begin to set some very big, make plans and projections. So that question came into play. And then I said, no, I don't think I'm supposed to move. And then when I started praying about it, I remember that word that came to me. That was probably maybe 2019 or 2020. 2000, I beg your pardon. 2000, the year 2000, you know. So that word came to me. I just remember that, wow, this is actually what I'm supposed to be doing. And then we started praying about it. And then we started enjoying favor. And one thing led to the other. So to add to that, of course, you come to that point where your life is no longer about you. You now begin to think about the next generation because you are a progenitor. You are someone who's supposed to be a forerunner for some people. So you want to begin to ask yourself some questions. What kind of a life do I want to live? What kind of life did my parents provide for me? And what am I going to do differently from them? And so the question about relocating became very clear from that point of view as well. And relocating gives you a lot of, for me, for my own personal, since you're asking us about my own experience, it provides some unique opportunities. For example, if you place the green passport side by side with a blue passport, the British passport gives you access to 171 countries without visa. The Nigerian passport gives you some opportunities, but they are not global opportunities. So if you have a child that was born in Nigeria and they are going for an opportunity in the US, while the child in Nigeria is applying for a visa, this person just picks up the passport and gets on the plane. They are not playing on the same level playing field. So when you begin to think about some of these things, you now begin to say, how can I position my children differently? All right. It's not that they're going to lose their green passport. They will always be Nigerian forever. But you have to be able to provide another opportunity for the future that you are looking at. And so that's just a summary of some of the reasons why we decided to make that.
Well, I think listening to you and what Nonso and Chimdi, the wife, said, I think there is a common factor here.
Yeah.
The issue around creating more opportunities for the next generation.
Yeah.
I think for us, if I will be honest with you, I never thought I'll be here for this long in the UK. My wife and I, we used to have this conversation. My mind was coming here, do your equip yourself, become exposed, get the education, and then go back and do. God has laid something in your heart. You need to go to Nigeria and fulfill it. UK is just for the meantime, you know. But the thing is, when you look at it from a broader perspective, like Nonso said, global perspective, you will understand that ministry or whatever you want to do can be done from anywhere.
Yeah.
And like you said, Victor, having a kind of opportunities within the UK system gives you more opportunities to do things in a bigger way, I would say.
Yeah.
You want to add to that?
No, I think you've said it all. The only thing is I just want to advance the conversation around what has been the challenges that you have faced since, you know, I know you've been here, and if you don't mind sharing with the viewers how long you've been in the UK for and what sort of challenges you had experienced, because I know there are seasons, right? For every individual, there are seasons. So what were your challenges? If you can highlight that, maybe not talk about the solutions, or maybe you might want to touch on those, but just if you can highlight the trajectory of your journey so far.
All right. So I think I've been here for over 10 years. I've been here for over 10 years. So what are the challenges? Over 11 years. She remembers those. Yeah. So I've been here over 11 years. So what are the challenges? I like the word you use, challenges, not problems. Challenges are meant to be overcome, depending on the person who is facing it. What some people see as challenges, what some people see as opportunities. You know, the Chinese word for challenges and opportunities are the same. So it depends on how you see it, really. So personally, some of the challenges I experienced was job opportunities. There was a level of job, the kind of job I was doing in Nigeria, and when I came here, those were not the kind of jobs that were available to me at the entry point. So there were some other jobs I had to pick. I remember one of my brothers gave me an advice. He said, when you get in there, do what you have to do in terms of legitimately, don't say, oh, this is my level, I need to find a job at that level. So I had to find some specific kind of job that were usually entry level kind of jobs. So, and then that was what I did for a while. And then I found another job. But in the process of doing that, what I was doing was I was upskilling myself. I was developing myself. I was building network. Remember, the second job I did, when the first job was coming to an end, I remember I was just, at some point I said, you know what? I read a book some time ago by Peter Drucker that says that everything that whatever is within your house is an expense. So bills will always be coming to your house. So for you to get anything of what they call it now, value, you need to go out there. So I started going out there and I started networking with people. And then one person just told me about another opportunity that I did for a while, before I now moved and transitioned into the lecturing job I was doing. So one of the challenges is sometimes you may not get the kind of job you think it's befitting from where you're coming from. We had people that were bank managers, but they come here and they are unable to find job at that level. So they have to find something just to make sure that they pay the bills. Because bills are real. Bills come at you irrespective of your gender, irrespective of your level. Bills are real. So that's one of the challenges. The other challenge I had at the beginning was maybe I think because I was doing my master's, understanding the accent was a challenge for me at the beginning, the very few months. I had this lecturer, she would just be speaking straight, or like, what did she just say? But after a while, my ear got tuned, to picking up. So now, that's I was even surprised that was a challenge at that point. But that was another challenge. Another challenge was the weather. Some jobs that I had to do meant that I had to stay outside or had to stay in an environment that was not so conducive. Remember back in Nigeria, when you turn your AC to 18 degrees and everybody's screaming, oh, turn it off, 18 degrees. And then I came here and I'm seeing 5 degrees and I'm seeing minus once in a while. It's a completely different ball game. It's like the cold room experience. That's what I called it, where you layer up under, layer up below, layer up head, and people are wondering, where are you coming from? Where are you going? So those were some of the experiences that I had. Yeah. So and many more like that. And then my certificate was not relevant. The Nigerian certificate was not really recognized. So that meant that I had to study within the system to understand the system and to also upskill myself.
Yeah. Chidi, you want to add to that?
Yes. Just taking a leaf from what he said about the accent, right? I would rather, in my case, say culture shock. Because in my case, I had I came to study, I had 2 lecturers. One was from Liverpool and the other from Scotland. So if you know those 2 areas, really difficult to understand, even for the regular Englishman. So for me coming from Africa, it was really a challenge. But then just to speak to something you said earlier about the accent as well, one good thing that helps, which I think anyone who is thinking about coming over can do, is one of our teachers then used to say to us, you need to watch the MP sessions, the sessions of the members of parliament. You need to watch their sessions. So watching those sessions really helps, because it just opens up your ears to the accents, the way they speak. So even if you're looking at coming here, just spend time watching the news, watch BBC, you'll pick up a lot. So that was one. There was another one I wanted to talk about, but
we'll come back to you guys to talk more about some of those challenges, because the ones you're talking about now are peculiar to you.
Yeah.
But from a general standpoint, we want you to share more about some of the challenges people who are coming over now are going to face. 10 years ago, things were slightly different in the UK. Now things are, even from the point of economy, the inflation is hitting high. So we'll talk more on that. I think we should bring, when Victor was talking about -5, I was laughing in my mind because Chimdi and Nonso, who live in Canada, let them come and tell us a bit more about the weather.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think
So
let's start from
if
the
you
weather.
had a question, we wanted to find out from Chidi and Victor about some of the challenges they faced coming into the UK. And you guys have been to 3 different countries: Canada, Australia, US.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a bit about that, please.
Okay. So thank you again. So I'm going to start with the weather. So we moved from Nigeria to the US. Oh my God, it was cold. It was cold and hot for Dallas, so it gets cold. And then we moved to Australia. It was hot. So when we go for rehearsals, I remember I used to wear 3/4 pants and sleepers when people are wearing jackets. And they're like, which kind of forming be this one? We are cold, you're wearing. I was like, I'm not cold, I'm warm. Then we now moved to Canada. We now saw cold. -30, 38.
It's -40.
Close to -40, like extreme cold.
Did you say -40?
Yeah, extreme cold weathers. Today is -20 something.
Yeah.
What?
It's so cold. It's just so like so. Anytime I go back to Australia, I'm just going to be wearing bomb shorts and singlet because I've lived a cold life. So you know how it happens. You just come from this country, you're like, this is so cold, and then you move to another country. So for Canada, I think Canada is it's the last of it. One thing I want to talk about is, when you come from, I'm an accountant. I was doing my master's before I was done with, if you know how masters would work in Nigeria. I wanted to be a lecturer. I had my life all planned out. So I was doing my master's. I was done with my coursework. I was done with my seminar. I was actually in my chapter 2 of my thesis dissertation before I had to leave to the US. So in the US, I didn't work because I had victory, and yeah, I just couldn't work somehow. And then I was pregnant for Samantha for the second child. He was the only one working. Now I want to say something. When you, I think what's his name? Is it Victor? He said something. When you're moving, just drop your certificate one side. Forget that I am a professor. I am this. It's going to happen. If you still want to make that happen, it's still going to happen. But just tell yourself it's just for a short time. You know, the Bible says for the joy that was set before him. You know, you just endure the moment. Some people fall into depression because I used to live very large. Somebody was telling me I'm going back to Nigeria. I used to have 2 mates. Now I don't have anyone. My sister, calm down. It's for the joy that is set before you. You know, it's not for now. If it's for now, we'll all go back to Nigeria because we had a better life. Most people had a better life. Some people work with Shell, Chevron, like big guys. And then you come to this place, you are doing disability work. And that's how I actually started the disability work. Okay, back to the US. So in the US, when we moved in, we had this friend that lived in the US. They showed us this, something they call section 20, something section 13 house. I forget what they call the house. So it's like a low-priced house, like very low-priced for the house, and you have all sorts because it's cheap. He was working in Deloitte, and his colleagues were living in the city center, so we could afford it. But you either choose affording it or doing other things with your life with the money. So people were like, oh, you know how people look down on you. Oh, you live here. Oh, Godspeed, why don't you move to the city? Blah blah blah. Well, like, you see what? Let's just stay here. So my mom was coming, and they told us, he was like, let's move to a 2-room. I said, we're staying in this room. If she comes for Mugwa, she's going to stay in this room with us. She's going to stay here. It was just for a short time. It didn't last. And then because of that, he was able to do his master's. I paid out of pocket for the master's. And that was the reason we had to even move down to Canada. So if you gratify yourself temporarily, like, I don't want people to say, because I have this problem with people that move from Nigeria, they're like, people live in a basement, like, God forbid, basement. What is wrong with living in a basement? Mindset, change your mindset.
Yeah.
If you don't change it, you come here and you suffer. You fall into serious debts because you have the credit card. Oh, they'll give you credit card, and then you keep buying things on credit. They can tell you, come take a house, what they call it, a car. Take a brand new car, and then they'll increase your interest rate because you don't have a credit record. You can decide to do all that, but you can also decide to say, you see what? For the joy that is set before me, let me just endure and have a better life later. And that's how I started disability work. When I moved to Australia, I didn't work in the US, and then we moved to Australia. We're like, oh, come and do disability work. Say from accounting, God, to disability. You know, it's just, and it didn't work. But you see, it paid. The money was plenty. You get what I'm saying? It might look dirty, you know, this Nigerian mentality. Maids here make more than some accountants. If you don't know, you have to change your mindset to say, what? Every job here is okay. If you want to still go your route of being whatever, people that build houses, they stay in the code, they make like times 20 of what you make in a year. But you might look down on them. So bricklayers, what do they call them? Builders, or plumbers. They are very rich. So if you're living in Nigeria, please change your mindset. I started disability work, and I like the fact that it is shift work. You just come, finish your shift, you go home. No much paperwork, no much stress. You just come home to your family. So it really depends on what you want as a person. But I want to advise everyone living in Nigeria, please, as you're entering that Nigerian airport, change your mindset. Tell yourself, whatever my hands find to do at the moment, I'm going to do it well. And then I look forward to my next level in life.
And I'll probably just also add, since we're speaking about challenges as well, I want to add that the moment that you step into the airport of any country, your bills begin to accumulate. The moment you step into the airport, your bills begin to accumulate. And remember that if you are coming to Nigeria, right, you're coming with Naira for example, you are going to be paying those bills in naira. So if they tell you, for example, that the cab is $30 to the place you're heading to, then you multiply that by the exchange rate. You are paying like 45,000 or something like that. So you are paying, your bills are accumulating in hard currency, and meanwhile, when you land, you already have that naira or whatever currency that you're coming with. So it means that you have to start earning money immediately in that hard currency to be able to afford your life. Otherwise, things are going to be difficult for you. And as my wife mentioned, I want to also re-emphasize this, that you have to change your mindset. We got into a country and we discovered, and the thing is that, Nigerians feel that once you get into abroad, hey, you're plucking the money from the trees, you're plucking the money. So people start sending a message, hey, I haven't paid my daughter's school fees, I haven't done this. These guys don't even know that you are going through, you are trying to pay your bills, what you're laboring for. People don't even know. Like, there was even a time that we had to, a friend of ours owned like a cleaning business, and we had to go join him to clean, because we needed to raise some money to also send money home so that people can do things at home. Some of these things, it's just you just don't have to keep your mind up high. Just understand that this is a phase of life that you have to go through these early stages to get to where you want to be. And in terms of also challenges, we talked about language. I want to also give an example. I think my wife went to, when we just landed at Dallas, we went down to Walmart to go buy something, and my wife went to we're looking for hangers, right? So we're looking for hangers, and then she went to the one of the store, I don't know what to call them, the attendants, and then she was like, where can I get hangers? And then it was like, what do you mean, like hangers?
She was so confused.
She was confused. She was hangers. So she called somebody else.
It's like hangers,
like hangers, you hang clothes. Like you're doing sign language for them. And they still didn't understand what we're saying.
She brought padlocks.
Then she brought like different things.
Like hangers for clothes.
Then all of a sudden she was like, oh, you mean hangers? I'm like, what's the difference? What's the difference between hangers and hangers? Like, what's the difference? So unless you say it the way that they want you to say it, they just tune up their ears. They don't even want to hear you. And what else? Culture shock again. Got into the office, and when my friends asked us out, let's go have lunch together. And if someone asks you out in Nigeria, it means they're going to buy you lunch. If someone says, hey, let's go have lunch together, yeah, they're the ones going to buy lunch. But in this part of the world, if they're asking you out, better hold your credit card, because you are going to pay for the lunch for yourself. You are going to buy the coffee for yourself. So when they're asking you, oh, let's go buy coffee together, just tell them, hey, you guys can go. I don't think I want to have coffee, because you are going to pay for it yourself. Anyway, I don't want to just spend all the time talking, but I'll just pass it on to Gospel.
Wow, I think you guys have said a lot. See me laughing, and I'm so excited with all the things you've said, because I could remember my own experience. I think the first job I did, we were just taking data. If I say I was collecting data, it sounds very posh, but we were counting number of buses that passed through the road.
Yeah.
And it was very cold.
Oh dear.
It was so cold that my knees felt like they put gravels in. I couldn't stand it. I was shaking. I don't take coffee, but I had to run to a coffee shop, paid for coffee, because I needed something hot in my system.
Yeah.
And it's not funny. And at that time, some people left the job because they felt that wasn't the plan. I like what you guys have said. The same thing Victor said. If you don't change your mindset and forget about whoever you are in your environment, in your space, in Nigeria or whichever African country you're coming from, as long as you're in a new environment, you need to first of all humble yourself.
Exactly.
Do what you have to do, and always remember what you're doing is temporary, as long as you have set goals that you want to achieve. I remember there was a job my wife and I were doing, and she kept saying to me, honey, what kind of job is this? I kept smiling, and I kept saying to her, it is for a moment.
Yeah.
And she now we think, how did we even get through all of this?
Yeah.
You know, because at that time it was very difficult. And I'm
Mm.
saying this to anyone who just came into any of these Western countries, UK, for instance, and you're thinking, what am I actually doing? This is not fit for me. If you set your eyes on what you want to achieve, see this as just a temporary phase. With time, you will tell the story like we are doing at the moment.
Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. Well, time will fail us, but I have a very important question, but I would want to give you a break now, and I'll bring up Chidi and Victor, and that's around the issues that a lot of families have been experiencing, a lot of families that have migrated. There's been a lot of issues around they don't seem to have enough time, so there's no time, the money is not enough. How would they be able to juggle the responsibility of having to cater for kids, go to work, have a life, and all the other things that people want to accomplish? And this is creating a lot of fragmentation in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that, of course, we have talked about mindset, but I don't want to preempt your response, but I want to bring you in to just, share with us about how families can navigate, all of these things, having to juggle jobs, juggle parenting, and also have a life for themselves without having to fracture the relationship.
Maybe they can start by telling us why, in the first place, should there be fragmentations, even though they are dealing with some of these issues.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll bring you on the board, Chidi and Victor. Over to you, please.
Thank you so much. Okay, so the updated question is, why are there fragmentations? Sometimes people don't know. I think there's a scripture in the Bible that says that when you fail in the day of adversity, your strength is small. Sometimes we don't know our strength until we are put in a situation where it's tested. And usually people have a more like a Cinderella perspective about abroad, because no matter how much, there are some experiences about abroad that no matter how much people we say it here, you can't really get. So you have to be in it to really understand, because people can't understand why, some of the things we're saying. So some things are just, you can only learn them by experience. So there are some things you try to comprehend, but you get them more. It will sink in. You have an aha moment when you're actually abroad. So to speak to your question that says, why are there fragmentation? Sometimes people don't prepare for this, because traveling abroad can test the strength of your marriage, can test the strength of your commitment to each other. Because if you don't belong to the right group, you can have people that will say, why are you hanging up with this guy? This guy is your husband. They're advising you that, why are you suffering with this man? Why not just create a chaotic environment, so that the environment, the culture or the system can provide you some form of succor. All right. Some people have gotten such advice. Sometimes when people have more than one children, more than, like a child, two children, it brings up the issue of what do you call it now? Childcare. Childcare, meaning because childcare is as expensive as, sometimes if you are paying childcare, it's almost like your whole salary you are paying somebody that just sit down and watch your children watch TV, watch YouTube. So at the end of the day, you see a lot of families, they are just working back to back, and they are paying some people who are just watching their children. And so that kind of pressure, when people are working back to back, like, as it's a situation whereby as the husband is coming in, the wife is going out. After a while, when you work under intense level of prolonged stress, it can change the texture of your heart. It can change the quality of who you are. Because the pressure, when you are so stressed and you are like, okay, this stress is going to end next week, you can have like what the Bible says, that hope deferred makes the heart sick. You are constantly in that state of hope being deferred. You don't know when this pain is going to end. You just know one day. That pain has a way of impacting couples. So when people are under intense pressure and stress over a long period of time, it drops their capacity to manage conflicts. It impacts it reduces their threshold for tolerating each other. You know, I remember a story I heard some years ago, and somebody was like, they were living, you know, this was back in Nigeria, so they were living, you know, on the island, and they were driving. This was in Lagos, and they were driving back to the mainland. So that stress. By the time they now relocated and they were living in the island, and their work was just 15 minutes away, and the lady said something to herself. She said, "I didn't know I was this nice." Why? Some level of stress have been taken away from my life. That is exactly what happens to some couples. So when they are under intense level of pressure, bills as they are, because you have to drive, and debit, there's a direct debit that will be leaving your account. This will be leaving, that payment will be leaving. Every time you are constantly dragging and scratching, scraping, making sure that a direct debit does not bounce, because if it bounces, it will impact your credit worthiness, that will impact your ability to get mortgage, because the system is built and all interconnected. So you can't afford any important ball to drop. So that constant pressure, and sometimes at some point balls will drop. The children will go late to school. The children will complain, and then they will call you. You have to cancel shifts. And canceling shift means that the money that money is already budgeted to sort out some specific need has already been taken. So all that pressure, people pour it on their children, pour it on their spouses, and if it's not properly managed, is that you begin to talk about divorce. And that's why some people will say, can your marriage survive relocation? That's a question. There are some fundamental things that you need to do. So in the middle of that, how did we manage that? Because we went through our own phase of pressure. So in the process of that, we constantly had a vision that we were saying, this is our vision. This is where we are going. This is what we need to do. And remember, we sat down, crafted 5 years, where are we going to be? 10 years, we kept saying, this is what we are going to do. This is what we are going to do. And we were carrying each other along. So, and we lived a very transparent life. My wife knew where I would be at any time. And so we had a goal. This is our financial. I remember the first time we wanted to pay off our master's fees. We said, you know what? We are owing this. All right, so what are we going to do? Where can we get extra money? We started putting heads together. For the first time, we set a target to it. And then one opportunity came up, another opportunity came. And then we learned a lesson from that. That anytime you sit down as a couple, see this thing they talk about, synergy. It's not a theory, it's a practical thing. When we sat down and said, this is what we want to do, opportunities started opening up for me to earn extra income, for her to earn extra income, and that was done. And so we started leveraging on that going forward. So to summarize by answering your question, why do people have this? Is sometimes people are thrown into the deep end beyond what they have the capacity to handle per time. If you know you cannot handle the challenges at your level, talk to people around you. That's why you have to belong to a very good community. Communities that will help you minimize the way the big problem is big in your brain. There's a way somebody you can talk to that will just minimize the intensity of that problem. And once it's minimized, ideas begin to pop. Because once you are under stress, the only thing you see are just problems. So find the right community, carry your spouse along. You don't want to do all this and lose the spouse. Your life partner that you have traveled with. It's better that you just stay in your country and be living together, going to the church and wearing and co, than to come across and you guys are going on through the stress, and then people are wondering, these people we are looking up to, what's happening? What kind of news are we hearing? It's better to stay in your Nigeria and be comfortable than to come and break away, and then the government is taking your children, because all kind of things have come into the picture. That's what we say.
Yeah, I want to ask the question while you're talking. You said something around issues around finance, the pressure, and all of those. But we've seen a situation where people were together because they had common challenges they were fighting to conquer. And that became like a focal point for them to stay together. But at this point, they are financially independent. The man can buy whatever he wants. The woman can buy whatever she wants. Now they are no longer together. So it's as if being in Nigeria would have been a better place for them, or being in that state of trying to survive would have been a better state for them than coming to that point of plenty. What do you have to say to that?
Wow, that's a very powerful question. Sometimes people are built for conflicts. You know, their strategy is only for lack when it's lack. They've not thought about how are we going to manage the increment that will come. I remember we had that actor said that question. Okay, we are working towards this one. What happens towards when the income comes? So before the income came, we asked this question and we projected and put that income in a certain place. So we are not feeling like we have money because the money is already locked down somewhere. Because there's a next project that we have to do. That's the next thing we have to do. If you don't do that, plenty has a way. Like somebody said that tough times create strong men. Strong men create easy times, and easy creates weak men. No, strong men, tough time creates strong men. Strong men create easy times. Easy times create weak men, and weak men create tough times. That's why after you've passed through that phase of toughness, you raise children that are weak, that they can't do any small thing. Oh, daddy, you have to be intentional to push them into that thing that prepared you. So the question is, it's about having conversations ahead of time and say, because I've seen couples who are earning 3 times what some couples are earning, but they are achieving bigger things. Why? Because they are working together. See this teamwork. They are achieving 2 times, higher than people. So what I'm trying to say is that I've seen couples that are earning maybe for example, for ease of calculation, 250 grand per annum. And I've seen people that are earning 75 grand per annum. The people who are earning 75 grand, they are achieving more than the people who are earning 250 grand. Why? These people have a common financial goal. And they are discussing and say, this is our goal. Okay, we want to move into real estate. We have to set this aside. They have to, but these other people are just, and you find them buying 2 things of the same item at home. Oh, do we have this? Don't worry, we'll just give it out to these people. They were just wasting resources. And they never understood until maybe one of them fell ill and they lost that opportunity. And they now begin to remember, oh, come on, how, we used to have this. You don't want to be in that situation where you are talking about, oh, I used to. No, you have to prepare yourself in such a way that, any opportunity that comes, you tackle it as a couple. So to answer your question, nothing beats couple who come together as a team, who leverage on the power of synergy. That way, that increment will not create loopholes, because some people, once that an increment, the guy now begins to cheat because he has disposable income that does not have a purpose, careless money, loving around. That's when you begin to notice things on the internet that is not calling his name. They are calling him, come. Because the money does not have a target. Once the money has a target, you know that this thing is for this purpose. This is the next building you want to buy. You want to buy the 3rd building. You want to buy the 4th building. You don't have any time for any other frivolous thing. So without purpose, people cast off restraints. That's the summary of that. People behave anyhow. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. Chidi, you're smiling. You want to add to that?
No, I think all I would add to that is that marriage requires intentionality. We must get to that point where we're truly intentional about what we want to do. He talked about having that purpose. You need to clarify the purpose. You need to sell it to the family. You need to keep communicating it. This is where we're going to. Okay. But even when we've done that, I think I like that you touched on commitment, because this is where we have some problems. People come to the country, they start mixing up with people, and someone sells you a lie. Yes, a lie which seems good. Someone tells you, you can report your husband for something, and then you will be moved to a council house. You get a house to yourself, and then you get indefinite leave to remain in the country. And this is where you start seeing the test of commitment. That's when you're sold such stories, you actually go to implement it against the person you claim to love, against the person you started this journey with. And so you begin to see people who tell on their husbands, they call the police, the first men get involved. The children are immense, they get involved in social services, and they are moved to a house. They feel like they've achieved something. After all, they have their indefinite leave to remain in the country. And then the man is left, doing whatever. It is sad when you see that, really sad. So this is where your commitment is tested. Do you truly love that spouse you've been claiming to love? What's the state of your marriage? Before you make that move, you need to be checked. Where are we? Who are we? How strong is our relationship? What's the strength of this marriage? Check that before you move.
Wow. I can actually say that for some people, coming abroad exposes the weakness in their marriage, the fragments, the fractures in the relationship. And because how the system is set up is different from how it is in our collectivist society, it creates that crack. And obviously, the system will enable it. If you want to divorce your spouse, the system will enable it. I remember when my wife came in here for the first time without me, someone advised her to, hey, that a church person, anyways. Divorce your husband, and then I'll tell you what to do to, stay in the country. What kind of advice is that? So if we didn't have a good relationship, she would have taken it on board.
An option. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Chidi and Victor, for sharing that. But I would want to hear from Nonso and Chimdi. So let me just quickly bring you up as well. I know you've been listening to the conversations we've been having whilst you were backstage. I don't know if you have something to add to this.
Sure. I think I'm probably not going to repeat exactly what Victor talked about, because they actually said a couple of things that are really important. One thing that I probably want to add is, as a family, it's important for you to have a goal. It's important for you to have a goal as a family, financial goal, what you want to do. And part of it is also creating a budget for what you want to do and working towards that goal. When you create a budget, you can actually see your income and your expenses and figure out what expense do we think that we need to cut off, what what additional income do we think that we need to add to make us meet expenses, very necessary expenses. And that way, because one of the things that causes stress in relationships is finance. It's one of the major issues that people have. Why people divorce their spouses. It's usually finances, and it's important that as a couple you figure out how much income do you earn together into your home, and how you can apportion that income. There was something else I wanted to say.
Okay, while you're thinking, I want to say that association in this place is key. It's very key. It's very key. Just avoid unnecessary associations. Like, if you know that I put a lot of things on my phone, I tell you, if going to Igbo association is going to put you under pressure, don't go. Don't go. Don't stress yourself. Because you go there, people say, you see their cars, they'll tell you their houses, they'll tell you stuffs, and then you'll not be like, oh my God, I'm still in the basement. You put unnecessary, but you're having a good home. Did you ask them how they are living? Did you ask them if they still have a relationship going on? Some people here don't have relationship. Forget that they are husband and wife. There's no relationship. There's no, like, I tell people sometimes, they're like, how can your husband come and pick you from work? I say, when I don't have strength, you drive me to work. I say, my husband cannot do it. Some people can't do it. So people don't have that kind of, there's no relationship. So you have to know, you need to prioritize your life. Like, do I want my family together, or do I want to have those other things? If you want your family together, there are sacrifices you must have to make. You see this money thing. You see this money. When you start making the money will come. Don't get carried away. Don't continue picking shifts. You will kill yourself. You will kill yourself. You will kill your children. You will kill everybody around you. You will kill your relationship. You will kill. By the time you wake up, and let me warn you, as you're making that money, that's how they're giving you call from Africa. That's how bills are coming. That's how you're increasing your expenditure. So if you make $1,000, I will guarantee you might be fine. Your husband makes $2,500. You gather it together. You know, okay, this is how much we can. My husband used to tell us something. It doesn't matter how much you make. We don't budget for what we budget for what we spend, not we budget for what we save, not what we spend.
That's a good one.
You don't go start saying, because I made plenty money, I'm just going to save $1,000. I made $5,000. I'm going to save just 1,000. Or what I want to save is just 1,000. So you're going to squander $4,000. You buy all the Victor says designers buy. you buy all the designers, and so, sincerely, I will tell you, it doesn't. We have the same. I don't know what works for other families. I won't tell you what you should do in your family. But for us, he manages the finances. When he comes in, I don't be like, oh, Swiss, they've paid you. What I just go is to go and check my hours to make sure I was paid correctly. That's all I do. if you start listening to people, I will say it again. Oh, don't let your husband touch your money. Oh, don't let your husband do this. How can you know how much you are earning? You won't do much. You won't do much in this country. Both of you have to sit down together and say, okay, we'll make this. I don't care how much. We're gonna want to buy a house next year. How do we get this done without straining the relationship in the family?
Yeah.
You're going to sit down and talk about that. Say, okay, we have to do this. I was just telling myself, since I married you, we've been inside strict budget. I've always been on that strict budget. We have 2021 budget now. We used to have budget like ahead. And it's helping. We've been on that. I said, we've been on that. He's always telling Swiss, you're exceeding budget. You're exceeding budget. I say, adjust that your budget to meet the inflation. Adjust it small, But I'm just telling you, that's how it's helping us. So when and sincerely, he's telling you, come on, okay, come and see it. See, and you have to be transparent with your spouse. Like, be very transparent. Don't come and start forming that you're earning plenty money when you're not earning. Oh boy, talk true. If you're not there, you're not there. If you're there, you're there. Say your spouse, I earn this amount of money. You bring this amount of money. What do we do with this money? It's going to help you. I have people that say, oh, you see what? My friends used to get maids to me. I've got a maid in my house. My sister, you get a maid. Waiting do your hand. You are paying a maid a whole $400, $500 to come and clean your house. There are things I hear. It's okay if once in a while you need those things, but living it as a lifestyle because you want to catch up with your friends, it doesn't make plenty sense.
Yeah, and I think that one of the thing that I wanted to say is most people think that when you get abroad, you need to work. You just need to keep working and working and working and working and working and working. I think you need to have an exit plan. Have an exit plan. You cannot continue to do 9 to 5 for those who do 9 to 5 or 8 to 5. You cannot continue to do it. Have an exit plan. You need to enjoy life. You cannot continue in this sufferness. Have an exit plan so that you think about your work, you set up a business, then at some point your business has to grow, and then you focus on that business, and then at some point the business runs itself, and then you chill and relax, and all you just do is check the alert that is entering in your bank account and go on holidays, go on vacation, enjoy life. That is why you even exited Nigeria in the first place. You did not want that suffering in the first place. So why are you here suffering? Have an exit plan. I think our time is almost done, so I'll pass it on to Gospel.
Wow.
Well, I think
I think we need to bring them back.
We can dwell on that. Have an exit plan. I think this budget thing that your wife is talking about, maybe we will get you guys on board to teach couples how to
financial intelligence,
how to create a budget as a family. And I think they talked about communication, working as a team, being transparent. In fact,
and edit your relationship. Edit. There are some unnecessary. She talked about, you don't have to be in certain places. Places that will put undue pressure
on your relationship. I think that's common with some people within our community.
Yes.
Where we want to show.
Yeah.
We use our mentality from Nigeria or different African countries. We bring it here. You want to show with modern or the latest car. You want to impress people with designers' clothes, and you come to gathering.
Yeah.
They want to impress you and show you that they've arrived. But then if you look at the people within this environment, some of them go on bicycle.
Absolutely.
Some of them, they're not so, I don't know. Maybe it's me.
Yeah.
Maybe it's me. But I think the key point here is cut your clothes.
Your coat, according to your cloth.
Okay. Sew your clothes according to your cloth.
Yeah, available, exactly. Yes. Available cloth.
Yeah.
And there was a quote you said your husband usually. I wanted you to repeat that quote. You talked about something your husband always says about budgeting.
Yeah, you plan your expenses, because when you have the money, the income, what you're budgeting is your expense. You're not budgeting your savings. So you're not saying, oh, I want to save 2,000, because when you say I want to save 2,000, when you have 7,000, your expense is 3,000, and they have 4,000, you're like, no, let me look for additional expense because I want to save 2,000. But when you budget your expense, then the leftover is your savings. So you need to cut your expense, make sure that your expense is reasonable.
Constant, slightly constant.
Yeah, exactly. So that you can have more savings.
Fantastic. I think if you would allow us, maybe something we can discuss would really need to bring you back, like you said, on the financial talk. Now, before I let you go, there's been a question here on the chat here. Somebody did ask any challenges with racism, work-life balance. I don't know if you would want to speak to that briefly, and then I would also bring Chidi and Victor to speak to that briefly.
Sure.
And then I will ask for your last words before we close.
Definitely, and I think in this environment, we are minorities, definitely. So you will always have, and I think it's always, people always want to get attached to people that they are familiar with. So whether you're a black person, for example, you walk into the office, you say fellow black person. I tell you, the first person you're going to greet is that black person. You're going to say hello, hi, because it's someone that you are familiar with. The person might be from a different, the person might be Zimbabwean, it might be Zambian, like you are from Nigeria, but as long as it's someone that you can identify with, someone who has something very close, like similar to yourself. And it's something that happens, out there, but it's just to continue to tell ourselves to take out that unconscious bias, to take out the unconscious bias, to make sure that we are being deliberate about not recognizing those things. And also you will find people in the office doing the same thing, wanting to get associated with people of the same color, people from the same place as themselves. But that means that you as a person have to work extra hard, right? Like you as a person have to work extra hard to get noticed. And don't let it push you off. Don't let you push you up. There are different ways people manage issues of racism at workplace. There are different ways people manage it. My own way might not be the best example, but we all have ways that we manage it. For me personally, it's just being out there. Just make sure that like the light is on you. Just make sure that you are popular. Just make sure you are just standing out there. You've got the skill. You've got the skill set. But if anyone is saying, okay, who do we call to do this? You are always the number one because you've got the skill set. And just be yourself, and also make sure that you are just out there. Work-life balance. I mean, in this part of the world, that's what I said. Always have an exit plan. Always have an exit plan, because the bills are going to come. And if you keep working and working and working, you're not going to have a life. Have an exit plan. Say, okay, this is the amount of money we are making now. What are we using our savings to do? What are we going to do with this savings right now to build us a life, so that we can get out of this 9 to 5 and get out of this rat race, whatever it is called, so that we have a life and be also able to enjoy the life that God has given us.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. Let me bring up Chidi and Victor to shed light on this question, please.
The first quote I absolutely agree with what Nonso and Chindi said. Absolutely. I just want to add a few things to that. There's a quote by Oprah Winfrey. This is about racism. She says something that excellence defies racism. Excellence defies racism. There's a way you be so good that people cannot but deal with you. They stop seeing you as somebody in the minority. They see you as one of them, because they know that, and that's one. Two, racism is not new. It's practiced in Nigeria. I'm an Igbo person that grew up in the West, and we face racism every day.
We call it tribalism.
We call it tribalism. That's just what it is. When you favor people from your own sect. Then I went to serve in the North. I experienced it. They have a name for Igbo people, Yamori. They have a name for, so it's normal. So what you just have to do is to rise above it. When they go low, you go high. And there's a way I live my life such that I like what Nonso said, actually. He said that, you become that person that is this problem solver. You become the person whereby you become the go-to person. That's what. Become the go-to person that solves real problems, real practical problems. Before you know what is happening, you just find yourself rising through the ranks, because the way it works here is that they have to give their people opportunity first before they give an outsider. And when there is no other person who can solve it, it comes to you. It's like Daniel. Daniel was in a new country and he ruled with 3 different dispensations. One man. Why? Excellent spirit was found in him. Excellent defies racism. The other question about work-life balance, I absolutely agree with him. people, you have to be intentional about saying time you want to rest, because you get to that point where that word becomes an addiction. It gives you a high, particularly if you love what you do. You will not even realize that you spent 15 years, you've not gone on vacation once. And when you go on vacation, you carry your laptop with you, carry your mobile phone, ping, 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 is following you all over the place, alert. You have to learn to rest. You can advise everybody to rest, but you don't rest because you are super, you're a superwoman, or you are papa with spiritual energy. You have to learn to rest. Even Jesus rested at some point when the boat was, it was resting to the point that boat was sinking. He did not notice. So let's be like our master. I'm also speaking to myself.
Okay, so for last words, I would love to say prioritize your marriage. Okay. Pay attention to your children. It is sad when people come and they lose their children because there's working, and something just goes wrong. Okay, it's typical to see one person coming in, the other going out. So, and the person who's just come back is trying to nourish himself because you've been out there, and there are little things you lose in the course of that relationship. So, pay attention to your children. You have to be very intentional about it. Even though you're tired, make time where it's like a meeting point. You can have family meetings where you're able to touch base with these children to know what's happening in their space, what influences they have been exposed to. Don't come here and lose your children. That's not why you have come here. Okay. And then another thing is you have to be intentional about upskilling yourself. Okay. Even if you're doing a job you are not, or you're starting with something you're not quite okay with, you must upskill yourself. I think I saw somebody share something on Skillshare. A lot of people take advantage of that. Skillshare. While you're preparing, you have it in mind to relocate. Go on Skillshare and see what courses you can take, to upskill yourself. And then I wanted to see another.
If the axe be dull, you have to apply more strength. Wisdom brings success. Skill brings success. So bring a skill that is not relevant in your home country, relevant in your new country. All right. There are skills that are relevant in Nigeria that are not relevant here. Do a sample. What industry are they lacking in? For example, in the UK, for example, they're going to be opening up STEM, people who teach STEM teachers, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. All right. That's automatic. So once you know that, you catch it on that opportunity, and that's it. Yeah.
Wow, thank you so much, Victor. I mean, there's quite a lot to unpack here, and I'm sure we're going to have like a part 2 at some point, and we might come knocking at your door. I would just let Nonso and Chimdi give us their final words before we let them go. I'm sure we would welcome them in here as a guest on a different subject. Over to you, Nonso and Chimdi.
So thanks again for having us. You don't know how much you can say until you're put on the spot. You start you start to talk. I want to say, for me, I want to tell everyone, it's fun to migrate. I would say it, even if you don't want to live abroad, just come get your passport and go back. Just do that. Just get the passport and then go back, because you might need the passport for something. You might need the passport for your kids need the passport. And then I'm very particular about kids. I'm very particular about raising kids. I put lots of posts up, and I say, imagine you growing up in Nigeria, and you went to church almost every day. You had to do devotion every morning. In short, at night you don't sleep. If you sleep and my dad comes back, you have to wake up for devotion. And your life is like this. Imagine your children not knowing God. Like some of them don't even have an idea. Sorry, I'm talking. I don't know if we have, but I don't.
Yeah, go
on. Yeah.
You need to be very deliberate about what you are impacting in the lives of these kids. We don't want a generation that will come after us that do not know God. And if you follow the hustle of abroad, I've discovered that even attending a Sunday service, ordinary 1 hour, 30 minutes or 2 hours, has become such a big deal You rather go get double pay than carry your kids to church. You don't want to start praying over those kids in the nearest future. They grow really fast. These kids grow really fast. So you have to be deliberate about your kids. Be very intentional. Like intentional. You come back, they do schoolwork, you say, go read your Bible. I tell people, I say, faith comes by hearing God's word. Just make sure they are in that space where they can hear God's word, where they can, so that at least you've done your own part. That's what I want to say. Come abroad. It's interesting to come abroad, but when you're coming, make sure you don't lose your kids in the process. You don't want to start praying. You don't want to start sending prayer requests and say, pray for my children. You cost it. Some of these things, we cost it because we're busy making money and forgetting our kids. So daddy is coming in tired, mommy is going out. Kids are coming back from school, you pick them up from school, daddy is coming back, sweet, take care of the kids, you are off, and the kids you give them iPad. Put a schedule on that iPad. Put a schedule on that TV. Read your Bible, write what you have read, or read your Bible, come and tell me what you have read, and then you can watch TV. These things will help you here. That's all I want to say.
Wow. Amazing. So have you got any final words, please?
No, I'll probably just say thanks so much. Some of the things that we've said, some of the challenges that we've described should not be a deterrent to you to desire to come here. If you've got that desire, come out here. God is going to make a way. God is going to make a way. Some of us, I'm just thinking about the first time that we landed at the JFK and then eventually DFW airport. We didn't know what was going to happen. And then we faced all these challenges, going through all the things that we went through, and look at where we are right now. I still know that tomorrow is going to be better. Tomorrow is definitely going to be better. The Lord has blessed us since we started all of this whole immigration thing. And I know it's going to be someone's story in the nearest future. So don't let the challenges become a deterrent to you. If you need to come here, come out here. The Lord is going to make a way and bless you in this land.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I don't know if our viewers have some feedback for our guests today. If you can just put it on the chat. But one of the things that came across to both guests for me is around intentionality, just being intentional. Thinking about those who have migrated. Before you migrated, you were very intentional about saving up in that account. You were very intentional about getting the passport. You were very intentional. So every single thing that they said you needed to get, all the requirements, you were so intentional. You followed it to the letter. You ticked all the boxes. And now you're here. The question is, are you still following up with those goals like they spoke about, with the intentionality that you started off life together?
Yeah.
Don't allow the blessing that God has given to you in your marriage to be a curse, because don't allow it to be something that will fragment your relationship, because God's blessings is supposed to enhance our relationship, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of times we look at it and it feels like maybe we shouldn't have made the move, but it's still down to, are you actually paying attention to those little things, those minute details?
To add to what you just said, I think from beginning, we clearly understood from what Victor and Chidi, even Nonso and Chimdi said, one of the reasons is to pass on a good
Legacy.
Opportunity for the next generation.
Absolutely.
Now, if you've made that step because you wanted your children to have a better life, don't also ignore their faith, because better life without faith means nothing. And we can't come into this society and lose the real value in terms of how our children will have relationship with God. So we have to be very intentional about that. We have to be intentional about our parenting, intentional about our relationship. You can't lose your spouse because you're in a new environment, because you've migrated. And thank you guys for all that you've said. Yeah. I don't know if Chidi and Victor have.
I think they've said their final words, except if they want to add something, but they did say their final words. And we have a lot of people on the chat thanking them as well for coming here, but I might want to get them on board too, just so we can see their lovely faces before they go. So here, over to you, Chidi and Victor. So thank you so much, guys. We really appreciate you, and we will be in touch. We will talk with you soon. And thank you to all our viewers, every single one of you who stayed on to the end. Please, if you think that this will be of value to people in your community, please do share with them, because I think there's been a lot of gems that have been shared here today, and I'm sure that somebody is going to benefit from this. So kindly share this with people you think this will be of value. Until the next time we see you, it's goodbye from us. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everybody.